This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Okay, so the CEO of MTK Global, Bob Yalen, is now former CEO of MTK Global after he has now resigned from his post. And he put out via the MTK Global website this statement. I'm incredibly proud of the success of MTK Global, and I feel privileged to have served as president and CEO since 2018. However, the pressure of the last few weeks has been particularly intense. I need to consider the impact on myself and my family. So after 4 years leading MTK, I think it's time for me to step aside to take on new challenges. So that is a statement from now former CEO Bob Yalen. Now, people will look at that and say, well, what pressures are you talking about? What pressure? Is it all linked with this whole Daniel Kinahan situation? Again, just to clarify, I don't know enough about this whole Daniel Kinahan situation or his backstory to condemn him or give him a pass. I wouldn't know. But is it linked? Because it's only a few days ago, maybe even a week ago now actually, that MTK Global put out a press release distancing themselves from Daniel Kinahan. Now, I do feel that MTK Global put out their press release, Probellum put out their press release, all distancing themselves from Daniel Kinahan, because Bob Arum implicated them as being linked with Daniel Kinahan. Had Bob Arum not done that, maybe they wouldn't have felt the need to put out a statement. I don't know. Because obviously Bob Arum, he said that because of, firstly, he's American, it's the American laws, the US Treasury or whoever it was put out these sanctions against Daniel Kinahan. He's no longer going to be dealing with Daniel Kinahan and any of the fighters who are advised by Daniel Kinahan, like Tyson Fury, for example. He ain't going to deal with Daniel Kinahan directly anymore. He's going to go through the lawyer route. But he also said that we will no longer be having any involvement with Probellum and MTK Global, which is kind of a strange thing to say with Probellum because he's never had anything to do with Probellum. Probellum are a new formed company. Now, are MTK and Probellum, are they linked? I think they're linked in some ways, for sure. But does that mean that they're linked with Kinahan? No, it doesn't mean that. Some people have a difference of opinion on that one. And again, I only say that because the statement that MTK Global put out via their website, actually I'll read it right now for you, says this: MTK Global will comply fully with the sanctions made by the US government against Daniel Kinahan. MTK parted ways with Mr. Kinahan in February 2017. He has had no interest in the business since then and will have no future involvement with us. MTK operates ethically, transparently and lawfully. We will cooperate fully with all the authorities and assist with any ongoing investigations. Then that was followed up with, on the same press release, by the then CEO, Bob Yalen, who said this: MTK Global will take every measure to ensure the company and those who deal with it are fully compliant with the US sanctions announced this week and take this matter extremely seriously. So there you go. So when it comes to all this kind of a situation, I think a lot of them did actually put out the press release because of Bob Arum. Probellum statement, I've got it right here, who say this: Probellum takes the sanctions made by the US Treasury extremely seriously, and the business and its employees will be fully compliant with them. We have retained counsel in the US to ensure that we fully comply with all rules, regulations and requirements related to this matter, including not working with any individual or company that has been placed under US sanctions. This includes Daniel Kinahan, and we can confirm that we will not have any business relationship or communication with him whatsoever. Bob Arum's comments implying that Top Rank has ceased a business relationship with Probellum are baseless. Top Rank is a competitor, and since Probellum's inception, Top Rank has never worked directly with us. Any suggestions that Daniel Kinahan is a shareholder or owner of Probellum are false and defamatory. So there you go. It's quite hard to read. They put it in bold letters. So Bob Arum seems to have stirred the pot. Quite unnecessary, because as I said before, the US sanctions had nothing to do with boxing. Now, when it comes to people distancing themselves, of course, that's going to create quite a lot of unease with a lot of people, because again, a lot of people will have had to have dealt with Daniel Kinahan. They will have, because if promoters and managers want to put on certain fights, or maybe they're forced to put on certain fights due to mandates and things like that, well, certain fighters, their advisor will be Daniel Kinahan, like Tyson Fury, like Billy Joe Saunders, like quite a few other people, right? So you have no choice. So it's not like you have full control of not dealing with him, even if you don't want to put on certain fights. You need to, okay? But that doesn't mean that they're linked. That doesn't mean that they're friends. That doesn't mean that they go out for dinner together and share stories and have a business relationship going forward. It doesn't mean any of that. It doesn't. Again, when you look at the landscape of boxing currently, I think the only two people that really spring to mind who probably won't ever need to put out a statement because they have no links with MTK Global or Probellum, and in particular, Daniel Kinahan, if of course any of these are even linked together at all. Al Heyman, well, he's his own advisor, isn't he? He advises his own fighters. So he won't need to be dealing with Daniel Kinahan or anybody else because Al Heyman advises his own fighters and the PBC put on their own shows using their own fighters. They don't really go external, do they? So they will have nothing to do with Daniel Kinahan. I know some people may look at it and go, but Al Heyman made the Wilder and Fury fights. But Al Heyman was working with Deontay Wilder on that side. It was Bob Arum who was working with and dealing with Tyson Fury, not Al Heyman. So I would fully expect Al Heyman to not even comment on anything to do with these US sanctions. None whatsoever. Here in the UK, I fully expect someone like Ben Shalom and Boxer to not have to put any kind of statement because, again, they're not implicated with any of it. They're a new company. Well, I say new, probably about, 4 or 5 years old now. Of course, they've done the Ultimate Boxer tournaments and that with BT Sport. I think they were with Eurosport, if I remember rightly, at one point as well. But with Sky, they have nothing to do with MTK, with Probellum, with Daniel Kinahan, or anybody. They are their own entity. And that's one of the reasons why Sky Sports signed them up. And I know this because in the beginning part of Ben Shalom Boxer linking up with Sky Sports to become their new lead promoters, a lot of fighters were in negotiations with them. Of course, they were building their stable. And I knew a lot of the fighters had already signed with them before the official announcement. Some of them, because some of them asked me, what would I do in their situation? Should I go with Sky Sports? Should I go or stay with Matchroom? Should I go with this other? And a couple of them, I said, I think you should go with Boxer and Sky Sports. Based on where you are right now, you need full transparency with your promoter, with your platform, where they can invest time in you. Whereas Matchroom have a vast stable, how much time do they really have to invest in you fully? If I was you, I would go with Boxer and Sky Sports. A couple of them did. A couple of them were already with Matchroom. I said, well, maybe you should stay with Matchroom because you're doing quite well there. Why not? Now, of course, when I'm speaking with like certain boxers, managers, trainers and that as well, of course, I'm putting forward names. Some of them, of course, did go over to Sky Sports and Boxer. I put forward other names and I was told no. Reason being, because they are with MTK Global. Now, again, I don't know if that's the kind of thing that I should really be putting out there, but there does seem to be some kind of, I don't call it an issue because I don't know, maybe it's just a business thing. Maybe they see MTK Global as a rival because obviously they put on like their own shows and that as well. Maybe they had foreseen some kind of future problems with this whole Daniel Kinahan thing and they wanted to distance themselves, start fresh. But Boxer are their own entity. They have nothing to do with MTK, with Daniel Kinahan or whatsoever. None whatsoever. I know some people will look at certain fighters that they have, like Josh Kelly, for example. Well, he's actually a Bob Arum fighter, not Boxer. Okay? With, again, I've seen people mention it online about Hughie Fury and Savannah Marshall and Tasha Jonas and that. Well, they were MTK, but they were not when they joined up with Sky Sports and Boxer. Savannah Marshall, Hughie Fury are managed by Mick Hennessy, not MTK. Tasha Jonas, I believe, is managed by Joe Gallagher, not MTK. So the MTK is now history with them. Again, as far as I'm aware. Okay? So when I'm told, no, these certain fighters can't go with them because they're MTK, again, maybe this is MTK saying, we don't want to work with them. It could be. Because MTK and Probellum, they seem to be quite close with fighters crossing over to Probellum. Maybe they've foreseen that Boxer are going to be a rival. Well, we're not going to help you out. We're going to be helping out Probellum. And they're going to be rivals. If anything, they're going to overtake you. It could be that. So maybe Boxer and Sky Sports now are quite willing to work with MTK originally. Maybe. Okay, so again, I would fully expect nothing to come out from Ben Shalom and nothing to come out from Al Heyman. Would Eddie Hearn, would he have to come out with something? Not necessarily, because again, he's a boxing promoter, and to put on certain fights, whether it be because you need to, because you want to, because of fans' demand, or because they're ordered, they're mandated by sanctioning bodies, you may well have to deal with Daniel Kinahan, because they advise, or he advises certain fighters. So is he going to come out with something? Again, I mean, I would probably say not. Because again, Matchroom is its own entity. Yes, they do have a lot of MTK fighters on there. But again, that's implicating that MTK and Daniel Kinahan are still together. Which MTK said that since 2017, they're not. People will look at Bob Yalen resign and say, well, you're resigning obviously because of the whole Daniel Kinahan situation. But again, Bob Yalen took over as CEO and president of MTK Global a year or so after Daniel Kinahan had already left. But who knows, maybe behind the scenes, they're like really close, good pals. Maybe Bob Yalen is godfather to Daniel Kinahan's children, if he has children. Again, I wouldn't know. No idea. Maybe they don't even know each other. They've never even met. But anyway, that is the latest. Bob Yalen, the now former CEO of MTK Global, has now resigned. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you on the next video.